Next item, discussion and action on rebidding of airport contract.
Mayor,
Yes.
I would like to postpone this until we get the feedback from MTAS. The legal opinion.
Any discussion on this being deferred?
Just like the other one. There's no motion.
Sounds like that was a motion to defer it, so if there's a second, you can vote on it. If not, you just douse for lack of.
That is a motion to defer.
Was that a motion, Councilman? I'm sorry.
Well, it wasn't a motion. What I'd like to do is if I table it, I need to give a specific time, and that's contingent upon when I get the response back. We can either just let this drop and I'll just put it on the next agenda. Administratively, that takes care of that, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna not discuss this tonight until the legal opinion comes back, and when it comes back, then I'll readdress this.
So does that have to be done in the form of a motion?
Yes, and all these questions are a result of our recent training we went through, but, just like with the last motion, it can either die for lack of a motion, and then a councilman can put it on the next agenda, or someone can make a motion to, it sounds like Councilman Sousa was doing that, to move it to a definite time, which is when the MTAS opinion comes back. And so if you are putting that on the floor, if it's seconded, you can vote on moving it to that time. If not, it would just die for lack of a motion because it is on the agenda, and then he can bring it back.
Yep.
That answers the question, procedural question.
So we'll just let it die, and then I'll just bring it back, and that'll make everything easy. Place it on the next agenda item, please.
I agree with that.
The next
I'd
council.
like to make a motion, Mayor, if I could, on this,
And the motion
since
is?
there's not one on the floor, correct?
That's correct.
There's not a current motion.
I'd like to make a motion not to rebid this airport contract and move to accept the renewal of the contract that Mr. Bennett presented to us last month, which is an additional 2 years.
Point of order. The scope of the motion and the scope of that proposal goes beyond the advertisement of what we put out to the public and bringing the contract to play tonight on approving. So I believe that if we're going to do the contract, it needs to be advertised first.
In reference to the contract having been advertised, and this is in reference to the contract, is that? Need to get you a microphone.
I think we're gonna, where we got a motion on the floor and it needs to be seconded for us to discuss. Am I correct?
Not a point of order. A point of order interrupts everything.
Question,
Okay.
before having a second. This has been before the council several times. It's been on, it's certainly been on the front page of the paper several times. However, it was not, that particular thing was not on the agenda as far as extending the contract. So there could be a question as to whether or not it was adequately advertised. Out of precaution, I would advise that we put it on a work session and then follow that up with the next meeting if you're going to extend it. However, it's definitely been made aware to the public, whether it's technically correct or not. Just out of caution, that's why I'm giving that. That makes sense.
We have a a motion on the floor. Which is that technical and could be going either way. I feel that the bidding discussion and the airport contract are in germane. As the counselor said, it has been discussed and known that the airport discussion will be on our agenda pretty regular. Councilmember White's motion was to go with the current contract, the renewal, which comes up in the spring, which is good for 2 more years, which would leave the terms as are. Was there a second on that motion?
Yeah.
I'll second it so that we can have a couple of other discussions. Because I have a question.
So we have a motion and a second. Further discussion.
So what you're saying is that the motion, to clarify, the motion is basically to renew the contract. And my question is, it's set to renew if Crossville Aero so chooses to renew it. So my question is, would our motion to renew be pertinent here? Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying?
Probably need to be clarified as to renewed as per the contract terms, which are at that particular date of renewal.
Are you asking if it's necessary for the council to renew the contract?
Yes.
Yes, it is necessary, although the contract renews itself at the end of each term at the discretion of the airport manager or Crossville Aero. Crossville Aero has submitted their intention to renew the contract. However, you as a council need to make an affirmative action to accept that renewal and to renew on your part, because you could choose not to, and then you'd be in breach of the contract, and there can be actions that come after it. So you do need to make an affirmative decision at some point before April, whether it's tonight or another meeting, to renew the contract.
Are you, Counselor, telling us that we have to vote for this?
No.
Favorably?
No, I'm not. But if you don't, there could be legal repercussions to that no vote, as we do have a contract that is valid and has the renewal terms in it.
Have the floor?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The contract's renewable, and I could be corrected here. It's due on 14 April, okay? We had previously decided to do this in January. The only purpose to rush this through right now is so that it'll be done before the legal opinion gets back. Now that Supreme Court case is very significant. I am not a lawyer, that's why I've asked MTAS for an opinion, and I've sent other information with it. It just went out this afternoon. I apologize for people who have not got a copy of it yet, but it will be in the city attorney's box come Monday, so everybody has a chance to see what I had to say. But what's happening right now is we're trying to push this through before that comes back. Now, the council, regardless of that, the council can take action anyway. Whether they will or not, I'm not going to speak for anybody. But that argument and that MTAS opinion is very important. Very important. And it could be the difference between this council doing something astray of the law or doing something that it's supposed to do. So I see no purpose in rushing this before January.
Am I correct, once again, excuse me, Mayor, may I ask a question?
You may have the floor.
Am I correct in asking this question? Once again, we do have a binding contract, Mr. Ridley, with Crossville Aero.
Yes, I mean, that's the same opinion I'm getting. I think, yes, we have a binding contract. still.
Thank you.
Mayor, I've got a comment if I could.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to read out of the 2008 audit. Mr. Sisselman, in the work session, he read the 2007 audit. We're talking about the 2008 contract. We had an interim contract in 2007 to keep the airport open. So the 2008 auditor touched on this lightly. In the prior year report, the predecessor auditor disclosed a non-compliance related to the airport operations. The predecessor auditor recommended the city advertise a bid request for the fixed base operator for the airport, and also establish credentials for the operator as well as the required minimum rental charge by the city. 2008, the city advertised and bid request for the fixed base operator of the airport, established credentials for the operator, and also established rental charge by the city. A new contract with the operator was approved by the city council and executed in March of '08. In the prior year report, the predecessor auditor disclosed a non-compliance item related to the city not obtaining competitive bids. The predecessor auditor recommended the city competitively bid all purchases equal to or exceeding $5,000. During the current year, we noted no items equal to or exceeding $5,000 that were not competitively bid. That's the '08 audit.
May I address the floor?
I call for the question, Mayor.
Point of order. Calling for the question allows to speak twice.
How many times have you spoken? How many times has Mr. Sisson spoken?
I didn't keep a score on that. Call for question requires a second.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Councilmember Souza. The motion is to call for the question.
Point of order. When a point of order is called, do I not get to speak, Counselor?
Yes, sir.
My understanding and from our training last week, that any time that the question has been called, it's then be voted on, and a vote would be put forth immediately if the majority of the members were ready to end discussion. I don't think that there was any requirement that each member got 2 times. That was just the procedure that would happen each time. But once the question's called, if the majority wants to move forward with the vote, my understanding is that that is correct.
I believe that Robert's rule does say that specifically, sir.
You know, I may be wrong on this, but that's my understanding of
I asked for 3 minutes.
And I'll point that the mayor makes the decisions on these calls. It's mayor's in charge of the meeting. Although you have to prefer to meet anytime he gets the final decision on these procedural matters.
When someone interrupts and calls out point of order, anyone speaking takes a seat. The chair says the member will state her point, his or her point of order. Then you tell how the rules are being broken and sit down. No second is necessary and no vote is taken. Instead, the chair stands and rules on the point of order, saying the chair rules that the point of order is well taken, or the chair rules that the point of order is not well taken, briefly giving a reason. Therefore, I know that move that the point of order is not well taken. I think we've heard enough from everyone other than myself. In February, we had a work session, and we approved a study, or white paper as you would have it, on the current airport status and its operations. I and two other council members agreed with this, including your inquiries with the city manager and the 6 department heads. Several months later, after extensive research and countless hours, the paper was complete. The summary listed 30-some-odd items of concern with suggestions for remedies. Some of those concerns refer to previous wording and actions of the FBO, airport manager, and the airport operations. In that time, the council agreed to allow the city manager and the city attorney to meet with Mr. Bennett and his attorney to discuss several items of concern and to clarify and work out confusion. Some of these concerns have already been addressed, as in security issues, fuel, and so on, and others are in the process of being remedied. I now understand that you're asking for a legal opinion as to if we modify or amend the current contract, does it become null and void and have to be rebid? And if it is to be rebid, the city would have to buy out Mr. Bennett's current contract at over $400,000. I think Mr. Bennett is working with the city on areas of concern with communication. We can work together to solve our concerns without a rebid and a buyout. And the people that have been coming to see me and discussing this situation with me are basically who I'm speaking for. So we have a motion and a second on the floor, which is what, Sally?
To call for the question.
To call for the question, which is to accept.
Well, we'll vote on whether we're ready to go ahead and vote on the original motion.
Okay. We got to vote to see if we can vote. So, a yes vote would be what?
That you're going to vote on the motion that was made by Councilmember Wyatt. To
No
not
vote.
redo, yes. No vote would.
Okay, roll call vote on the current motion.
Okay. So the motion is to call for the question, to take a vote on the motion of Councilmember Wyatt. Councilmember Souza.
No.
Councilmember Wyatt.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Harris.
Aye.
Mayor Mayberry.
Aye. Motion carries. Now we are to vote on the motion to accept Mr. Bennett's renewal on the renewal date of April, whatever it is.
April the 19th. April the 19th. It's when the new contract will go into effect, or the new term.
That's the motion.
Yes.
But it would be renewed at that time.
Have a motion? We have a second on that one?
Yes, we have said, yes.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Mayor, can I be recognized?
Yes, sir. Put you off a while back, and I don't need to do that, I'm sorry.
The original point of order was never voted on. The original point of order that Mr. Souza made was whether you gave sufficient public notice to us that you were going to be voting on this tonight. In my opinion, and the attorney's opinion, no. No. That's what he said. Out of an abundance of caution, you do not vote on this tonight because you did not give us sufficient notice that you were going to be voting on this.
I didn't hear it that way, but anyhow, go ahead.
Do you want to repeat it, sir?
Only answer questions of the council, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, you did not rule on his original point of order. You did not vote on it. That is your first call. You guys bypassed it intentionally. And you did not rule on it. I guarantee you, I'll be saying something. If you guys go through with this tonight, it's ridiculous.
Thanks, Sheriff. I think we're at the vote section now.
You are.
Roll call vote, please. Councilman Souza.
No.
Councilmember Wyatt.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Harris.
Aye.
Mayor Mayberry.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the city attorney's report.